Gentlemen and ladies and gents, I just decided I'd take the time,
Isn't that pretty right there?
to go ahead and explain to everybody what has been going on. Now, the first thing, I'm not wearing my headset, so I'm holding a microphone.
Oh, look at that. He thinks he's got an audience.
The first thing I want to do is take the time to say that everybody might have the wrong impression. This speaking into a microphone and doing these videos is not easy. Coming up with all of these so-called ideas and or solutions to what's happening to so many people is not easy. Unique thing is, many of the things that you hear me talking about, these are not problems that I am dealing with directly. I don't need to do the research or speak on the subjects that I'm speaking on because they don't impact me directly. I do apologize that many of you are going through your ordeals, especially those of you who are dealing with child support. That right there. Now, of course, all of us want to make sure the little children are taken care of. There's not a single person on this planet that doesn't want to see children taken care of, children looked after.
Even the evil ones?
Even the evil ones.
Wait, children can't be evil.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't.
Yes, they can. I remember watching Little House on the Prairie. I remember watching The Twilight Zone. You know, the same girl who played in Little House on the Prairie? How she ended up playing that movie where she was the evil little girl. And all the other shows they did where they had the evil little girl.
Well, boys can be evil too.
You better believe boys can be evil. But the idea here is not talking about good, bad, evil, and wicked. The idea here is talking about children and being supported by their parents. Yes, we know that there is no money. Everybody keeps thinking that legal tender is money. You have the United States Treasury Department who was put in charge over money, not Congress. Everybody is, thinking, well, the only money is gold and silver. You need to stop that, people. That is not the law. They changed the law, and you all didn't see the sleight of hand. Proclamation 2039 was implemented, pay attention, by way of planning. They came up with the Trading with the Enemies Act after World War I. Just like they came up with the stupid Patriot Act after 9/11. They always create an event. The shooting of Archduke Ferdinand, please, have you ever heard them say they found the person who did the shooting? Anybody? Anybody? Exactly. The shooting of Archduke Ferdinand, the so-called start of World War I, we all know that wasn't a start for World War I. That is what they created to claim they were starting World War I. That's why the same factions were involved. Why did World War I happen? All a matter of control. It changed the world forever. There had never been such a conflict in the history of mankind. It changed the world forever, so much that they gave it its own title, World War I, because it affected all of society. Archduke Ferdinand dies. He has nothing to do with the United States. So why was the United States involved in World War I?
Well, it was because of Churchill and
Yes, but why was Britain involved?
Oh, well, the Archduke Ferdinand, he was called a duke and he was associated.
No, you guys are not getting it. The shooting of Archduke Ferdinand had nothing to do with no one else. Leaders get assassinated all the time. But this one, there was a relationship created. There was hostility created. There were propagandas created. So, World War I. Right before the ending of World War I. Because remember, World War I started 1914, ended 1918. So in 1917, October 6th, Congress introduced what was called the Trading with the Enemy Act. The Trading with the Enemy Act, that's right, they labeled it the Trading with the Enemy Act so that everybody would think it had something to do with war. It was a military act, but it didn't talk about war. What did it talk about? Oh, it talked about the United States and people who were enemies of the United States. Interesting, ain't it? They enact that enactment during a time of war.
Doesn't the act say that it has to deal with things during the time of war and or insurrection?
Yes, it does. Yes. Okay. But people weren't paying attention back then. They're not even paying attention now, because that act led to the Depression. The Depression was no fluke. They didn't just say,
Oh, look at that. It's time for a depression.
no, this was all planning, people. You need to know, Congress doesn't do anything without planning for it. That's why they can write up these acts so quickly slick. Okay? So what did they do? Well, if you pay attention to the history, the so-called Federal Reserve was declaring a national emergency. They did it first. Go back and read the papers of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Notice how he said that the Federal Reserve had declared a national emergency. And then he does Proclamation 2039, now he wrote this the day before his inauguration, and he puts it in. He's not even president yet. He's only been elected president, but he hasn't even taken office, and he writes Proclamation 2039. And he declares a national holiday, and the moment he gets in office, he's like convening a special session of Congress. But what does he rely on? Ladies and gentlemen, he relied on the act of October 6, 1917, a military act. That's right, that act did not apply to the public. Remember, the military has no jurisdiction over the public.
Uh-oh. I think something snady is going on here.
Something slady?
That's right, Shem and Slady. Something slady is going on here.
That's right, something very, very shady, not slady, shady is going on.
No, I said slady, and you just leave my word alone. That's mine. I done created that word. When I create words, I put the big P with the circle around it. Patented. That's me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Trading with the Enemy Act. If you read Proclamation 2039, you'll see the president said he was relying on the Trading with the Enemy Act. That is a military act. Pay attention. See that military jet? That's a military act. The law says,
What law?
the Constitution,
Oh, that law.
the law says that they cannot, pay attention, use the military to engage the citizenry. The military is only to protect against invasion. Invasion, not from within. You can't invade something from within. Okay? You can't invade something from within. That's why the militaries cannot be on American soil. They must always be on sovereign territory. That's why every military base is sovereign territory. That's why before you go onto a military base, it tells you you're subject to military jurisdiction. But the Trading with the Enemies Act, pay attention to the wording of it. Look, it covers every aspect of United States possession, United States territory, the United States. And anywhere, pay attention, the dollar bill is used.
And we know the dollar bill is the world default currency. It's used throughout the world.
That gives the military jurisdiction. Just by that stupid dollar bill. Hey. I never even considered that before today. Which is why they are all over the world. Even in countries where they ought not be. Espionage. But the president said he was relying on the October 6, 1917 Act. And what did they do? Well, hold on, everybody. If the president was relying on that act, why did the United States Congress have to amend the act to include the information created and put in the Presidential Proclamation 2039? Go and look at the act, everybody. Congress took what the president had wrote on the 3rd of March, 1933, and declared on the 6th of March, 1933, supposedly from the 6th to the 13th, declaring a national emergency. If he was declaring a national emergency, why did he apply it militarily? Because, ladies and gentlemen, he had no authority other than that. As the president, he doesn't have the authority to declare a national emergency. Only the October 7th, 1933 Act gave the president the authority to declare a national emergency. Okay? He had no other act, no other power under the presidency to declare a national emergency. That's why. Now remember, the 1933 situation was created only because of the, pay attention, Trading with the Enemies Act. Congress utilized that language intentionally. And what did the president do? Something that was already predestined to happen.
Predestined. Let me see, predestined. That means before destiny. No. It just means that it was supposed to happen because that was their plan. That was their plan. Yep, 1917. That's why they wrote the act, so that they could do exactly what they did in 1933. Did they know they were going to do it in 1933? Pay attention, everybody, because you're not paying attention. It's right there in front of you. Of course they knew they were going to do it in 1933, because this is 33-degree masonry. You're not paying attention. It's all right there in front of you, and you're not paying attention. Remember, the Great Depression started in if you look at the everything, 1927. That's when they begun everything. It just wasn't global. They started doing that. We got a problem, 1927. But it didn't affect everybody until 1929. And then 1933, oh, it's so bad. What happens? 1933, y'all not paying attention? Didn't Hitler start gaining all that power in 1933? 33-degree masonry, people. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm not guessing at this. I'm telling you, look at what took place. They can't say, no, this ain't the case. They can't say, no, it's because of this and because of that. 1933 is 1933. You can't take those threes and twist them around. If you take 33 and say it backwards, you still got 33. That's right. 33-degree masonry.
So, that's why on the Treasury's website, they say this has been the case since 1933. Just type into your Google search bar, or your Bling search bar, or your any other search bar, and you do legal tender status. It will take you to treasury.gov. And there the Treasury will say, hey, our notes are a piece of junk. No, they ain't backed by nothing. Oh, no, they're just pieces of paper. Yeah, we get this authority under the act that allows us to do this. Yeah, that's 12 USC 411. Yeah, we get that authority because it comes from the Presidential Proclamation 2039 and the March 9, 1933 Act. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not paying attention. Let me give you some math. It was done on March 9th. That's 2 3s. 9 and 9, 2 3s. March is the 3rd month of the year. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. I'm paying attention. It's been there the whole time. Now, this is not about conspiracies, because I want all of you to know, if you go back and listen to my videos, you don't hear anything about nobody's conspiracy. I could care less about a conspiracy. People do conspiracies all the time. Anytime you get together with another person and you make a decision to do something, that's called a conspiracy, people. You must understand what a conspiracy is. It's two people coming together of like minds to accomplish a single purpose. That's a conspiracy. When you and your wife decide you're going to go to the store, you've just engaged in a conspiracy. Conspiracies are not always bad. They're not always negative. But we're too busy listening to words and having people tell us the definition of words. Oh, and that's the other thing. We think we're smart. We go and we look up the definition of a word and we think that's the way that the other person intended the word to be understood. That's not the case, y'all. 33-degree masonry, it's not the Illuminati that's in control. Illuminati is just another fraction of the Masons. That's all it is.
But the Masons, are they really in control?
Well, not the way people think. There's an organization formed via the Masons that control everything. It's okay, it's supposed to be controlled by a central group. You can't have the world controlled by 15 different groups of people. Why? Because there's always going to be fighting. There's always going to be battles.
Well, isn't that the case that there's only been like 47 days without war throughout the whole world since 1930s?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is true that there's always been some military conflict on this planet, but you must understand each of those conflicts are permitted and allowed by that wonderful group.
Well, why would they do something like that?
Because they think that all of you are roaches. They think that all of you just keep multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, that you're no benefit to anybody. They don't understand uniqueness of people. They don't care about the uniqueness of people. You know what they care about?
No, what they care about?
They care about themselves. The Masons and the Illuminatis are the most selfish group of individuals this planet has ever seen. Because they're only interested in their own interests. They're not interested in the world's interests. They don't care about the people who are starving to death. None of them are starving to death. None of them have ever starved to death. So they don't have any concern for those people.
Oh my goodness, I think he's right.
Oh, of course I'm right. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why they don't have concern and or caring for the wonderful people of this planet is because they've already mapped out the direction of where this planet is to head. When George Bush the first was sitting up there talking about what this world needs is a world of global governance, a new world order. When he got up there and said that in 1992, let me tell you, he wasn't predicting the future. They'd already talked about a new world order way before he got up there and said it internationally. That had not been done before. Then everybody who said something about the new world order, they were called conspiracy theorists. And now they talk about new world order all the time, like it's water off the duck's back. It just flows. Ladies and gentlemen, even Barack Obama got up there with his stupid, and I said stupid, little goat head sign. You know, 2 fingers coming down, the other 2 fingers going up, and the thumb sticking out. The one that usually, I love you, if you put it up and wave it, back and forth, bring that thumb up and down, hey, that's I love you. And they took that symbol, and they made that into their symbol. Now, why would they do that? Ladies and gentlemen, because it's how they act. This conversation started because I wanted to explain to everybody that the ability to think is your most precious resource. But many don't take the time to understand that ability. I do. I appreciate it with all of my heart. That is my extreme most prized possession. But the disease, muscular dystrophy, it has a direct correlation to symptoms of eventual dementia. Not going to last for a while, a long time, but it does eventually lead to that.
Oh my God, are you saying you're going to go crazy?
I'm saying I'm going to go crazy.
It must be crazy.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
You might think I'm crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, no, it hasn't happened already.
I'd be surprised. Look at some of the things you done did and talked about. You already seem like you done at stage 85 billion. You know, you just like not stage 4. No, you done swoon right past stage 4 and you just Man, you completely off the stage.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, the ability to think and figure this stuff out has nothing to do with any personal power of my own. Nah, I'm not that good. No, I tell everybody, and I don't care if people don't believe it, and I don't care if this turns people off. It's not my problem. I tell people I serve the true God. He is the only God who has ever called himself the true God. Go ahead and look. Look at all the other gods. First, all the other gods have never spoken for themselves. Go ahead and take a look. And none of them have ever called themselves the true God. Do you know why you'll never hear them calling themselves the true God? Because they're strictly prohibited from doing so.
Well, we know that these are not really gods.
No, they're not really gods. Every other god was created by someone. Every other god had a beginning. Go ahead and take a look. Look at history. Every other god has a beginning. See, you don't have Horus, and you don't have Hercules, and, well, he's a demigod. All these gods that people are worshiping today are from the demigod era. This so-called triune God, this Trinity that everybody wants to talk about, yeah, I'm gonna piss you off. That's Nimrod and his mother. The Virgin Mary, well, you're saying Mary didn't? No, I'm saying Mary did exist. I'm saying that the images everybody is sitting up there taking a look at, these are images from Babylon with Nimrod. Nimrod painted as the so-called Messiah. That little baby that Mary is holding. Nimrod is also the Cupid. You see the Cupid? Yeah, Cupid, he's so cute. Yeah, he's so cute, all right. That's why he's got a bow and arrow. You ain't paid attention, people. Cupid's got a bow and arrow because he's not sitting up there shooting love shots at people. He's a hunter. That's Nimrod, people. Nimrod was known as the mighty hunter. Don't go and listen to no stupid Cedric Maxwell. Go and look at history. Every single holiday, pay attention to the word. It is not holiday, it is holy day. It is to a false god. Well, the 4th of July is not to a... What you mean the 4th of July is not to a false god? That's a celebration. Well, it's a celebration of independence. Yes, independence from your service to the true God and your service to the false gods. People, you're not paying attention. I can't have you not pay attention. Because if I don't tell you this, nobody else will. I don't have to pull out any history books to prove this to you. All you got to do is take a listen. It's, pay attention, called holiday because somebody wants to pronounce it differently so you can't see it. It's H-O-L-I. Does not the I and the Y sound have the same sound? I-Y, 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 I-Y. Okay? It is holy day. It is religious. Everybody always hears the phrase religious holiday. Pay attention. And now what did they do? Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. Oh, Happy holiday season. Remember, you can't say Merry Christmas no more to people. You just have to wish everybody a happy holidays. Christmas was the worship of a false god. It originally started on January 6th, the winter solstice. The longest day on the calendar where it has more night hours than any other day. It's called the winter solstice, and it happens during winter. And so because those ancient people, them ancient people, they weren't too bright. Yeah, they worship the stars and the planets, and that's where you get the Saturn stuff and Saturn Day. That's what Saturday stands for. It's named after the god of Saturn. Saturday. Pay attention, everybody. I ain't gotta watch nobody known as no Cedric Maxwell to explain this to me, because he has his own agenda. He wants to tell you that The belief in the true God is based on these rituals that everybody has done. First of all, man would not believe in a single God if it was not for the true God being present in the first place. Go ahead and look at everybody's history. There is one God who started it all, and they all talk about him. But then they talk about all these other gods, talking about how powerful they are. But remember, they're all minor gods. Go ahead and look at Greek mythology. Go ahead, take a look. Who's the most powerful god in Greek mythology, and yet he doesn't control all the other gods? They all have their own separate power. He is the top demigod, but here's the thing. Because the other ones have their own separate power, he may have power more so than they do, but they still exist with him. Not with the true God. He only permits and allows these other gods to exist temporarily. And he only permits and allows mankind to follow behind them temporarily. All right, with that being said, let's move forward. When it comes to thinking, that is a process in and of itself. Many of you think without knowing that you're thinking. Many of you call yourself studying, and you don't realize what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not studying by meditating,
What do you mean by meditating? I keep hearing people talk about this meditation, and they say it's supposed to be good for you.
not that type of medication, and because that's what they're doing. They're self-medicating themselves. They're not meditating. Meditation comes with you focusing on a set of words. For instance, talking while reading is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. But you are to read it in an undertone. Why an undertone? What's an undertone? Well, it's where you get under your voice and you just watch the tones come out of your mouth. No, that's not an undertone. I know better than that. That's senility. I do that all the time. An undertone is when you speak in a low tone to where it vibrates in your chest, so that as you're reading, it's vibrating with inside. That's an undertone. So right now, in my chest, I don't have to talk like that. I can actually talk like this. And I can feel my voice in my chest. I can feel my voice vibrating. Whereas opposed to this, I can not feel my voice vibrating. That's an undertone. You have two senses going on. And because you're speaking in that undertone and it's vibrating throughout your system, your body holds on to the information. Your body absorbs, in other words, the information. That's what it means to read into an undertone. I told everybody in 1988, December 4th, I suffered from an allergic reaction to anesthesia. And by staying in a coma for those many months, I was able to hear. I remember all the voices. I remember my sister, Serena, talking to me. And I remember moving my finger because I couldn't move anything else. That's all I could move. And I remember asking me if she wanted me to untie my hands, and I moved my finger twice. And so she literally untied the strap, and she did it, and she left it there as if it was still tied so that the nurses wouldn't tie it back. She wasn't dumb. She knew what she was doing. And when nobody else was in the room, and I just knew that nobody else was there because they didn't come into my room unless they were doing their rounds. There was no reason for them to check on me. So unless they were doing their rounds, they didn't come into the room. So I had hours, and it took me all night. Oh, well, see, the nurses do their rounds the same as a jail system does its rounds, because a hospital is a prison. Well, hospital is you guys are not paying attention. Go back and take a look. Hospitals have security. Why do hospitals have security? They had security before there was even a threat.
Well, that's to protect the medications because they know people want to get in here and steal them.
No, that's not why they have security. Hospitals have security to keep people in, not keep people out. Patients are not allowed to leave the hospital unless the doctor releases them. Pay attention, people. It's all right there for you. You're not seeing it because you're allowing that general conversation that people are having. I told you, when I had enough, and this was May 10th, 1989, I told the nurse I'm leaving because she came into the room. My friend was there and I'm packing everything up. No, I think my sister was there. I think I called my Serena's twin, Sabrina. I think I called her to the hospital and asked her if she would bring me home.
Well, the doctor hasn't released you yet.
Excuse me?
The doctor hasn't released you yet.
I don't need no doctor to release me. I'm a grown man. I leave when I say I'm done.
Well, I gotta call the doctor. I gotta call the doctor.
Do you all understand? Hospitals are prisons. But you haven't been paying attention. Hospitals are done under military jurisdiction, but you haven't paid attention. We're under military jurisdiction. That's why you have to go through checkpoints. They're called ports. You're always going through a military checkpoint. Do not the individuals at these military checkpoints have guns?
Well, not in the airport.
Yeah, they have guns in the airport. You just don't see those guns. But their personnel is in those military uniforms. We now call them TSAs. Okay, and who created the TSA? Was it not the military jurisdiction of government? The president's office? Pay attention, people. He is not sitting there as president. He's sitting there as commander-in-chief of the United States Military Armed Forces. March 9, 1933 Act. There is no president anymore. We're under military occupation, but you guys are not paying attention. Look, all you got to do is go read Presidential Proclamation 2039 and notice that that's introduced under the authority of the Trading with the Enemies Act, October 6, 1917 Act. Then go read the March 9, 1933 Act and note how it says that it's being implemented under the authority of the Trading with the Enemies Act, the October 6, 1917 Act. The schools that we put our children in, they are propaganda indoctrination facilities. They are being told history according to the way the military jurisdiction is telling them what history is. People, all you got to do is pay attention. They were told a story.
Oh, Columbus, he discovered America.
They were told a story.
Oh, George Washington, he's our founding father.
George Washington wasn't even the first president of the United States. He did not found America. Ladies and gentlemen, you were told that the Pilgrims were those people who were fed up with the way Britain was doing things. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pilgrims were all religious individuals when they first came over, because the nation of Britain, formerly Britannia, was oppressing the people, not allowing them to practice religion openly, not allowing them to knock on doors and talk to their neighbors about religion, the Bible. That was illegal. The same as Russia has made it illegal today. The same as the nations, including the United States. The United States in 1919 made it illegal. They tried to do it again in 1945. Russia has continually made it illegal, then made it legal, made it illegal, then made it legal. Well, those were your Pilgrims. Your Pilgrims were the ones who were trying to get away. Now, remember, in 1692, they have that saying, that idiot sailed the ocean blue.
But the United States didn't become the United States until 1776. Pay attention, everybody. Almost 100 years later, they call those idiots the founding fathers. They weren't here originally. They only came here because they wanted to take advantage of the natural resources. They saw money. They saw commercialism. That's the only reason why they came here, and that's the reason why they went after the Indians, because the Indians are saying, no, we were here first. This is ours. What the you fools doing? And we said, we taking your... And we doing this in broad daylight. And if you mess with us, we gonna kill your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews. And did they not slaughter the Indians? All for commercial gain. Pay attention, people. It ain't Thanksgiving the way you thought it was Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving to them because the founding fathers had given them this possession. They came in, raided. They literally came in and raided. And they did the same thing then that they're doing now. Did they not blow up the enemy from within? Did they not set charges of dynamite within the camp and blow them to smithereens? Did they not commit terrorist attacks on the Indians? Don't take my word for it. Go back and look at history. Remember, the Iraq War started with the first bombing of a mosque. Go back and look at history and see how no so-called Islamic extremists had ever bombed a mosque. They never would have done such a thing, because even if they did not like the individual, they understood that a mosque was sacred ground, because a mosque was dedicated to the same God. Even though a different fraction of the same organization, the same God nonetheless. So they never would have blew up a mosque. That is the enemy from without invading from within. It is a tactic, a military tactic to divide and conquer. So what do? They keep announcing, they keep saying the same thing over and over again. It's called brainwashing. You guys do it to yourself when you sit up here and tell yourself, remember to pick up bread, remember to pick up bread, remember to pick up bread, remember to pick up bread. Oh, darn it, I forgot to pick up the bread. You guys know it. That's called brainwashing. You do it to yourselves all the time. When you go to college and you're learning the same thing for a full year, then you go there for another year, learning the same thing for another year. That's called indoctrination. That's called brainwashing. Don't worry about it. They got it from Scripture. The Scriptures are constantly repeating themselves. They're called reminders. Now, you don't understand. That's what it's designed for. It's designed to help stop you from being brainwashed. That's why you're supposed to read the Bible every day. I know. You didn't know that, but you know it now. That's what Joshua, the first chapter, verse 8, talks about. How you must read it in an undertone day and night. Got me working day and night. Ow! People, pay attention. The true God knew that people would go through being brainwashed. Oh, look at you. Oh, I don't like religion. You're not supposed to like religion. Religion is not created by Scripture. Religion is not created by God. Religion is created by the demigods. And as long as the demigods got you all thinking that you're doing something different, oh, I belong to this religion, I belong to that religion, I belong to this religion, I belong to that religion. As long as they got you thinking you're doing something different, well, they're all the same, leading to the same path. That's right, they are all the same. And you didn't pay attention. Well, your religion is blah, 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 and my religion is blah, blah, blah. This is what people do. Lord, 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 have mercy. Because people are not sitting and recognizing what's really going on. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2005, I wrote something because I was made aware of it. Said there's going to be an event that's going to take place that's going to change the whole world. And roughly about 3 months later, Katrina happened. Oh no, it wasn't even 3 months. I think it was 3 weeks later. Sorry about that. 3 weeks later, Katrina happened.
Now, how did Katrina change the world? Does anybody know? Can you take a guess at how Katrina and New Orleans changed the entire world in one swoof? You see, what they did is they tested the HARP machine over Indonesia. Why Indonesia? Because those are island people. Those people are backwards and dumb, and they don't follow no regimen. That's why Indonesia. 280,000 people lost their lives in a matter of 7 minutes. Nobody talks about that anymore. Well, shortly after that, did you not realize that Katrina happened on the other side of the world? Shortly after that. When I say shortly, I mean several months after that. Then there was Katrina. No, go back and look at the footage. Just look at the footage where it talks about the day before Katrina and the day of Katrina. It was, the sun is shining, sunshiny day, eh? Everybody's singing, so happy and gay. It's a sunshiny day. Okay, everybody was doing the Brady Bunch song. Man, you looked at the sky, it was so crisp and so clear. Then all of a sudden, the waters came rushing in. Oh, when the saints come marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Katrina had already passed through. Go back and look at the news footage. But what Katrina had done is it had dumped so much water in such a short period of time, but it didn't work out like they thought it would. They thought with all that water, it would flood the whole place. So that didn't work out. So what did they do? Well, as Katrina was leaving, somebody decided that they were going to set those levees and let the hounds out. Who let the hounds out? And all of a sudden, people are hearing explosions near the levees. Why? Because it didn't happen the way they thought it was going to happen. They thought that they would have a storm pour that much water down. Katrina was a water event. Go back and pay attention. It wasn't a wind event. It was a water event. There was very little wind damage, but it was a hurricane. There was very little wind damage. Go back, pay attention, people. It was a water event. They thought by dumping all that water the levees would break, but the levees held. And next thing you know, I heard explosions. I heard, you can't hide no explosion. These were no muffled explosions. These were explosions because they had to blow up all that cement to let that water then flow all the way through. Remember, they have the levees there to prevent flooding. So they knew it was going to flood when they sent Katrina through there. Pay attention, people. Pays attention. How did that change the whole world? Well, with Katrina, many didn't pay attention. So go back and watch When the Levees Broke with Spike Lee. I can't watch that because it pains me too much to watch that. How they were allowing people to die in the middle of the street. How the government withheld any and all aid from the people. For weeks, not days, for weeks. Then they brought in the military. And what was the military's main concern? Was it protecting the people? No, the military's main concern was going in and getting those guns. Go back and watch When the Levees Broke. Spike Lee is filming the lady in her house. He is not talking about guns, but he's filming the lady in her house and how the military came and they went through her house and searched her house. Why are they searching her house? And why is the military there? Well, because the Army Corps of Engineers controls the levees. Yes, they control the levees, but they don't control the civilian population. So why was the military there? People, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. They're doing this right in front of you the whole time. They're not hiding any of this. You gotta pay attention. People, you gotta pay attention. If you don't pay attention, this will keep happening. Now, it's only going to get worse. But how did Katrina change the world? Walmart sent several truckloads of bottled water to the Katrina area because there was flooding. The people had no access to running water because all the water was now contaminated. It had been days. The pumps weren't working. and they stopped those trucks at the border saying, no, you can't go in there. No, we got this. We will distribute the water. That's what the military said. The military people, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. They were letting you know what they're getting ready to do, and you guys are not paying attention. But that was 2005. You better believe that was 2005. But this 2018, this 13. That's right. Just like October 6, 1917, and March 6, 1933. That was more than 13 years, people. Total of 16 years. Because it was a plan. You see, Katrina was them allowing that national disaster to go on because they wanted to see what your reaction was. Allowing those dead bodies in the street because they wanted to see what your reaction was. Because your reaction lets them know how people are going to react in the future. And they can curb that reaction by controlling the media, controlling the information. Go and look at all the videos where you have the media saying the exact same words, the media repeating the exact same phrases. Ladies and gentlemen, did we not say that that's called brainwashing? When you keep repeating the same thing over and over again? It's not meditation. It is brainwashing. You need to understand. That's why I told you. I purposely don't watch commercials. I skip right to them. Because I understand the brainwashing that goes on in our society. This is their system. Well, as I mentioned, I remember my sister and my brothers and Willie Williams coming up to my bedside and telling me how strong I am and how I can fight this and how I can beat that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you straight up, I don't care what you think or how you think. The person who helped me, who saved my life that day was my God Jehovah, because he's the only one I asked for help. I did not ask any demigod. I did not ask myself. I said, oh Jehovah, help me. Those were my exact words when I woke up in an operation and realized something wasn't right. When the doctors are talking, it's a miracle. I don't know how this happened. I knew how it happened. My mother knew how it happened. My brothers and sisters knew how it happened. They weren't surprised. Happy, yes, but not surprised. But there are side effects from the hypoxia. There are side effects from the hyperthermia. I didn't say hypo, I said hyperthermia, the high temperature. There are side effects from the 18 minutes clinical death. There are side effects. I've been experiencing those side effects for over 30 years. There are side effects. No treatment, no follow-up, and no payment for their blunder. I'm waiting for the arbitration to be heard concerning that organization that did that to me, because I have never stopped fighting. I'm doing this video at, well, it was 4 o'clock when I started. It's now 4:56. 4:56, almost a full hour. I'm doing this video because I woke up after taking sleeping pills to go to sleep last night. And no, I don't take sleeping pills every night. And no, I don't overdose on my sleeping pills because I'm not trying to kill myself. Are you worried about them trying to kill you? I'm not worried about them trying to kill me. Will they be able to? No, they won't. Not unless I sin against my God to a level to where he no longer protects me. What I was mentioning earlier, I mentioned now. As I said, I knew about Katrina. Not exactly Katrina. Didn't know where it was going to happen. I just knew it would take place in a place that is obscure. A place that most people don't focus on. And I'm sorry, unless you're in Louisiana, nobody focuses on Louisiana. Sorry, it's just the way it is. And so, when it did happen in Louisiana, I realized that was exactly and precisely what I had been allowed to know. But all of my family's from Louisiana. I'm not from Louisiana, but my family is. My sister was living there, and I was more concerned about her. For days, I didn't know anything. My family knew, but I didn't. Why? Because the system had placed me in jail for 45 days. Why'd you go to jail for no reason whatsoever? But I knew I was going. I'd already been told I would go there. Then I would speak to 45 different people who did not know who Jehovah was. My job was to introduce Jehovah to those individuals. Remember, religion doesn't get into prison. Oh, religion is in prison all the time. Yes, no. We're talking about those denominations, those demagogue worshipers. They get into prisons. I don't care if you're Catholic. I don't care if you're Baptist. I don't care if you're Protestant. Those are the people who get into the prisons. Those are the people who get in there and indoctrinate, and the prisoners eat that junk up. Those are the people who tell the prisoners, oh, nah, what you did is okay. Just a couple of hells and a couple of Marys, and everything gonna be okay. God ain't never worked like that, where you can just pray your sins away. He makes sure everybody and their grandfather know that there are consequences for their actions. And if anybody doesn't understand that more than me, trust me, I get it. So I said to myself when it was first brought to my attention in 2004 that I was going to meet 45 people who did not know who Jehovah was. And sure enough, in that facility, I spoke to 45 people who did not know who Jehovah was. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting up there talking to people about the Bible, and next thing I know, I got an audience that is sitting around asking me about the Bible as I'm showing them what the scriptures say. That was my thing. In school, I'm going around asking people, what do they know? What do they think? And I'm saying, no, the Bible says this, and I'm turning, and this, people, I'm doing this in the 5th grade. Because as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I was taught scripture. I wasn't taught religion. I wasn't taught doctrine. I was taught scripture. So I was able to show people what I was talking about since at least the 5th grade. I remember talking to Jim Hill's sister. That's right. And you know what? I can't remember that young lady's name to this day. I remembered it a couple of years ago, but I can't remember her name to this day. She went to my school. Jim Hill, he's a CBS Sports. He's been there for a while. He started in California, Los Angeles area. Jim Hill. Well, when he was on the news, his sister was at my school. And of course, her last name was Hill. And she was talking about her religion. And I said, well, my God doesn't allow me to celebrate birthdays. Your God? What you mean your God? He's everybody's God. I said, no, you don't serve the same God that I serve. Who, doggy, if that didn't start a whole huge argument, because we had an audience around us when I was saying that and we were having this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys don't serve the same God that I serve. I know some of you are going to be like, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. You can serve your God. Isn't that what Joshua says in the 24th chapter of Joshua? But as for me and my family, we shall serve Jehovah, the true God. Is that not what he said? That if it's right for them, if they think it's right, go ahead and serve their gods. But as for me and my household, we shall serve Jehovah. Ladies and gentlemen, me and my household, we serve Jehovah. You can be mad at Jehovah's Witnesses, but notice all of your anger towards Jehovah's Witnesses is because of what somebody else told you. I was looking at YouTube. I don't watch these videos, but they were talking about an ex-Bethelite and ex-elder of 40 years leaves Jehovah's Witnesses. So what? He left. Nobody cares. Ladies and gentlemen, elders are not special. There's nothing special about an elder. What are you talking about? Ain't no way in the world you're going to be sitting up here talking about ain't nothing special. Ain't nothing special about an elder. He's just a man. He's not been christened.
Well, he's been ordained by God's Holy Spirit.
Yes, 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 but he is just a man. Just like I tell people, there's nothing special about me. I'm just a man. If I walked away from Jehovah's Witnesses tomorrow and I started talking about them in a negative way, ladies and gentlemen, that has no impact on Jehovah's Witnesses as a whole, because they're not called my witnesses, they're called Jehovah's Witnesses. He controls them. The only group on this planet who he allows to be called by his name. But I see those videos and I don't watch them, because any individual who will come and speak out against something, you got to be cautious, because that means they have an agenda. See, I'm an equal opportunist. If I speak against something, I let you know that I don't like it. I let you know that I got a problem with it. But I'm not here to shape your minds. I am not here to tell you what to believe. Shame on me if I did. So, bringing this to a close, we did that video, ladies and gentlemen, showing you that warrants and checks are equal. Giving you an example of a warrant and how it should be issued by you using your, what people refer to as exempt account with the Treasury, because you have a trust account with the Treasury. They will never tell you don't. You people are asking the Treasury the wrong questions. You don't need their permission to access your trust account. You just have to follow procedure. So do your research on warrants and checks and follow procedure. I suggested to people that they should be attaching their birth certificate to these warrants and checks for the major purchases. Okay? Now, if you really want to perfect the process, we did a video yesterday showing you how the Supreme Court has made it clear that when you're doing arbitration, that the arbitrator's award is binding on all parties, and that the courts only have one duty, and that is to confirm the arbitration award. It says, the law says that the judge must confirm the arbitration award. They said that phrase is not unambiguous. The Supreme Court says they must do it unless one of the exceptions apply. So the courts are going to break their neck to look for an exception. And that's when you appeal. But for now, arbitration is your baby. Oh, and to keep the courts from being stupid, we're making the arbitrations in equity. Now, we tell people about the exempt document. I have to go back and correct the arbitration agreements in several of our documents that we have online. And I will do that soon. My hope is by Saturday. But for the time being, take your arbitration agreements, and where it says district court, do a word search for district court and say court of equity. Change it to court of equity. Trust me on that, because you want them to make a decision in equity. You don't want them to make a decision in statutory law. You don't want them to make an administrative decision. You want them to make a decision in equity, because equity must always render equity. Equity can only do that which is just. Because there is no money, because legal tender has no value, because everything is issued in credits, the courts cannot tell you that $10 million is too much, because the banks deal in billions. Congress gave the banks trillions of dollars. We just had a slight earthquake, people. I'm not joking. We just had a slight earthquake here in California. That's interesting. Oh, no. It's one of those things that certain people notice. And it's okay, because it happens, the little slight ones, all the time. And that's the same thing when I was in Puerto Rico. I think they had like 4 earthquakes while I was there. Everybody else is scared and screaming. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Man, it's an earthquake. I even told them I'm leaning against the wall, and I said, we're having an earthquake. They said, what? I said, we're having an earthquake. And then About 15 seconds later, everything shook. And they're asking, how did you know? Because I've been through it. Ain't no big deal. So what? The ground shook. What I won't do is I won't start running. I don't run for nobody's stupid doorway. Ladies and gentlemen, you start running, that's called panic. And every time you panic, somebody's going to get hurt. So you don't panic. Let's get back to things so that you guys will continue to understand. And then we're going to bring this 1 hour long video to a close. Those of you who have child support, the exempt document, it's not exempt, it's equitable redemption remittance coupon document. Just look under the contracts, look for the one that says equitable remittance coupon. That's what you send to the child support department. I would suggest if you owe $20,000 that you make it for 40. You do it double. Do not do it for triple. You'll only cause yourself problems. It'll only cause it not to be accepted or honored. And change it to warrant, equitable warrant remittance coupon. Just add the word warrant to remittance coupon and send it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm different. Sorry, I had to cough. On this microphone, there's no mute button. But I am different from everybody else. I put this information out to all of you for free. I don't charge you for this information. Everybody's out there. People want to accuse me of taking advantage of them. And now because they signed up with SATCOM and things hadn't happened the way they thought they were going to happen, they're complaining. Ladies and gentlemen, all SATCOM was doing for people when we did the affidavit, the POA, is we were documenting their having attained the age of majority and filing it with the county register or the register of titles. They get a copy that has been filed with the register of titles, and they're not paying attention to what just happened. The law says that they're to be recognized as having attained the age of majority at their 18th birthday. We have just affected their gaining access to the securities held in their minor account. Just go back and read the court rule 220 out of Minnesota. It is a general rule of practice. That means all the courts practice the same thing. All you have to do is go and get an order from the court where you demand that the minor's disabilities be removed because you have attained the age of the majority. And you have the affidavit filed with the county registrar's office as per the general rule. But people are saying that SATCOM has not done anything for them. And they're not getting it from the very beginning. We've given them everything the law says they're supposed to have, but then we've added to that. We've not only given them that, but we've also helped them to create an entity for which they can operate permanently and label that entity as a, pay attention, a tax-exempt entity because they control the entity. But they haven't been paying attention. Well, it's because you guys haven't. Yes, we have. We've explained this to people from day one, but we're not supposed to be doing the research for you. See, people want us to do the research for them. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do the research for you, guess what happens? That means you have to pay us more. A lot more. If we're required to explain everything to you, that means you have to pay us a lot more. Oops. Our job is to keep the cost low. Our job is not to charge you more because many of you couldn't afford it. So we came up with this program, but we are creating securities for you, not for ourselves. But people are not understanding this. They want to act like we haven't kept our word. As an organization, we have kept our word. And we're trying so very hard. But we're fighting City Hall. You know, ever since I heard the phrase, you cannot fight City Hall and win. You guys know the phrase, you cannot fight City Hall and win. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been fighting City Hall all my life. Since I was 15, I've been fighting City Hall. Why? Because I took it as a challenge. Somebody telling me what I can't do. So I purposely have been fighting City Hall. I've taken city halls to court, especially the Schenectady City Hall. Took that stupid mayor, his last name was Brian, and he was an idiot. But he was mayor. Schenectady is one of the most prejudiced places on this planet. Little backwatered, ignorant. Schenectady, New York, the end of the road. That's the, now that we've come to the end of the road. Okay, that's Schenectady. That's what the word Schenectady means, the end of the road. That's what Boyz II Men were talking about. They were talking about Schenectady. Nobody got it. The ones who are from Schenectady and who knew what Schenectady meant, they knew that's what Boyz II Men were talking about. Well, Schenectady is one of the most prejudiced places I've ever been. Whew, I didn't know California was as prejudiced as Schenectady is. Because slavery still exists, people. Jim Crow still exists. Why? Because look at our society. This has nothing to do with black or white, white and black, green and purple, orange and brown. This has something to do with a mentality and a state of being. Everybody needs to know their place. And that's what makes society upset with me. Because I think my place is everywhere. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. Okay? I think my place is everywhere. So I set my hat wherever I want. And dare somebody to remove it. Then when they do so, I just take it and put it right back. That's right. Don't fight them. I just take it and put it right back. They move it again, take it, put it right back. Move it again, take it and put it right back. Now, while they keep moving that hat, I'm putting hats all over the other places that I want to be. And I'll focus with them on that hat. And then we'll battle. Now, some of you guys are worried about the system coming after me. We all knew the system was going to come after me. I told you back in 2016. And then especially in 2017. I believe it was July. Before I did the seminar in... what state was that? New York. My final seminar. I told everybody this. I said, hey guys, it's my final seminar. I said, and after I give this information, they're going to come after me. Well, they've been coming after me ever since August of 2000, pay attention, and 17. I'm okay with that. I don't mind them coming after me. I serve the true God. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said back then, I say now, I have already died. What can they do to me? Kill me? Please. 18 minutes clinical death? I was just watching a TV show, and it says, once a person has died and survived, man, nobody can do nothing else to them. And the movie was called 59 Seconds. It's a very dark movie, but that movie will have you thinking. It's called 59 Seconds. I didn't even know anything about this movie coming out in 2016. It's okay. If I was to rate it, I would give it a B. Yeah, I give it a B. On a scale of A, B, C, D, E, and F, I'll give it a B. And it's left an impression. But the characters were right. Once you died, what are you afraid of after that? Nobody can make me afraid of anything, ladies and gentlemen. I survived because my God proved near to me. He proved to be my quote-unquote salvation. I don't need nobody telling me that Jehovah exists. He's already proven to me that he exists. See, I called to him, and nobody on this planet can explain my existence after that operation. But he can. So, before Katrina hit, I knew about it. Before 9/11 hit, I knew about it. My knowing I was going to be in jail for 45 days, I want you to pay attention. For 45 days, and I would speak to 45 people who did not know who Jehovah was. And you can look him up. His name is Lucius Lucky. Lucius Lucky. Sorry, Lucius Lucky. It is Lucius Lucky is the gentleman's name. He was a gentleman that I talked to all the time. He would tell me that his wife and his daughter were Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I figured he already knew about the Bible. I figured he already knew who Jehovah was. And so I'm sitting there and I said, it's 45 days. And I said, I'm still here, and I don't know why I'm still here. He's like, what do you mean? Well, I done talked to all the people here. Everybody in here I've talked to about the Bible. We're in a pod. It was 45 people. I talked to everybody in the pod. And so I'm like, I'm still here. And so he and I are having a discussion. And you know what I said? I said, it's you. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, you're the reason I'm still here. I said, I sat up here and I assumed that because your wife and your daughter were Jehovah's Witnesses that you already knew this information. But the problem is you don't listen to them. You let it go in one ear and out the other. I said, you're the reason I'm still here. And we had a discussion about the Bible. It lasted for about 45 minutes. I'm not joking about this. And then right after we have our discussion, they say, Jones, roll your stuff up. You're out of here. I said, I told you it was you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, after 45 days, they released me, just like I was told. I go back to my apartment, which my rent was due. I think I was like 20 days behind. And they did not charge me a late fee. They did not interfere with the apartment. Went right back in, continued business as usual. 45 days. Yeah, that was one of those things where the court scheduled a hearing, and then when I get to the court, nobody is there. The same thing they did on Monday. Like I told you, they've done, the Monday the 26th, so over a week ago. The same exact thing they did then, they did in 2005. But I knew in advance, so I wasn't scared. Didn't have to worry. I was told in 2004 that I'd be heading to the East Coast. Told my best friend, I said, hey, gotta go to the East Coast. So I gave away everything. Gave away my apartment, and when I said gave away my apartment, I'd already paid the rent up for 6 months. And so I gave it to some friends to move in. There you go. Furniture, car, everything. Left the car behind, took 3 suitcases to North Carolina and stayed in a homeless shelter. And I stayed in a homeless shelter only because I wanted to see if homeless people, you know, the ones who hold their hand out for panhandling, I wanted to see if they had access to food, they had access to shelter, they had access to clothing. I needed to see that because I didn't know. I just always saw them out in the street, and I was wondering, this is the United States. Shouldn't they be providing something for these people? Ladies and gentlemen, the homeless eat better than you and I do because they have these things called soup kitchens. Pay attention. They serve more than soup at soup kitchens. As a matter of fact, soup kitchen is a misnomer. That is a relic of long time ago, back in the 1930s, when all they would sell is soup, when all they would offer is soup. No. They do full meals. And you just go in, you sit, and you eat. And then what they do is if they're still hungry after going to one location, they can go to another location, which is also serving a meal. This happens every single day. And on Sundays, they serve at certain locations, and they eat well. Eggs, pancakes, rice, chicken, steak, they eat well. So don't let anybody who's out in the street talking about they're hungry and talking about they need money to feed themselves, don't let them tell you that, because that's a lie. Because I have stayed in 3 homeless shelters on purpose, because I wanted to make sure, because I was wondering, because if they did not have access, I would start giving money to panhandlers. They may hate me for this, but that's okay. This is the end of the video, so ain't nobody listening to this. This is for prosperity purposes. Well, anyway, to make this long story even longer, I pride myself on the ability of being able to think and to meditate on things. And it's from that ability to think and meditate on things that I'm able to figure out how to use the system against the system. So the system has an arbitration process. So we're using that arbitration process to our advantage because it's theirs, it's not ours. We didn't invent it. They created the statutory provision known as the Federal Arbitration Act. So we're using it to our advantage. The system has a court system. Now, their court system says that they cannot prosecute somebody without due process of law. So what I'm doing is I'm highlighting all the due process of law violations and demanding that they prove to me that they can move forward. Well, the statutes, I don't give a fuck about your statutes, you ignorant mother. I said, according to the Constitution, your statutes do not supersede the Constitution. The Constitution supersedes your statutes. I don't care when it was written. You see, they cannot make the Constitution null and void. No king, no dictator can eradicate a Constitution. And that's what people don't understand. But they did it in Iraq. No, they didn't do it in Iraq. What they did was a regime change. That was a coup, people. You guys are not paying attention. The United States went into Iraq, got rid of its leader, and put their own puppet there. Pay attention, people. This has been going on for decades. The United States going into countries. Look at what they did with Muammar Gaddafi. Remember, he was an ally to the United States? Look at what they're doing to the Turkish Prime Minister. Remember, he was an ally? Look at what they did to Mr. Saeed, or Sadat, of Syria. Remember, he was an ally to the United States? This is all about regimes change, people. They do it all the time. They're nation shaping. They put in the leader they want, then they control it. Look at what they did to Afghanistan. Nobody cared about Afghanistan. Go back and look. Nobody cared about Afghanistan. But the United States got to put its military in Soviet territory because Afghanistan was controlled by the Soviets. Go back and look at the history, people. The United States is setting up their military around the world. They claim they're going in there and trying to stabilize governments. No, they're going in there and trying to destabilize government. They took the D off the word. So they're stabilizing governments according to their mold, according to their ideals. But the United States is the military arm of the world. This is a world government. This is not United States versus Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys have got to stop looking at the news, and every time you see a negative article about Trump saying this and Trump saying that, I don't care if you're a Trump fan or not, you got to stop paying attention to that junk because it's all a lie. Okay? They're doing the same thing with Trump they did with Bush. You didn't learn your lesson back then. You need to learn it now. Remember, Bush was doing all kind of stupid things back in 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. And while Bush was doing all those stupid things, they were doing sleight of hand. They were passing things like the Patriot Act. And all of you guys are suffering the effects from the Patriot Act to this very day because you weren't paying attention. You didn't protect yourselves. Sorry, I'm trying to untangle the cord on the microphone. Apologize for that because the microphone has a cord to it. I'm trying to make it to where I can move around, but the cord is saying jump around. This ain't no Onyx. Jam! Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, now that we know about the government propaganda, now that we know about what they've done with history, now that we know about how they handle schools, now we know about money, now we know about the military rule, what do? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you got to stop thinking the way you've been thinking. Do you have an exempt account? Well, for the sake of anything else, you got to use the correct word. You have a tax exempt account. You gotta remember that it's not about being exempt, it's being tax exempt. That's what that account is. It's not an exemption account like most people were saying. It's a tax exempt account. Well, why can't they tax you? Because it's yours. You earn that. That is your right. Those are your securities. You can't be taxed on your own junk. Plus, they've already taken the tax out. They're allowed to collect the interest. So now, attach that account. Everybody was doing it when they were using their social security number on the hour style money orders. When they were doing the A for V and they were saying you need to put your exemption number here, that's a tax exempt number. people, you need to start declaring that you're tax exempt. You cannot be taxed on your wages. I don't care if the system gets upset with me on this. Go and look at the case law. You can only be taxed on your gross income, not your income. So anything you make over your normal wages, which covers your necessities, because you cannot be taxed on your wages. Go and do your research. In the United States, you could never be taxed on your wages. You are only being taxed because you filled out those tax forms, and you're voluntarily telling them that you can be taxed. So I'm going to give you the numbers of the forms that you need to fill out to get this taken care of. 8821, IRS form 8821, IRS form, oh God, I just drew a blank. Well, if you have a 98 series number, 8832 and 2848. Okay? That's to get you started. And a W8BEN. 8 as in the number 8. W8BEN. B-E-N.
You know, I remember Uncle Ben. He had his own cabin, and now he's into making rice.
Uncle Ben doesn't make rice.
Yes, he does. I have a box of his production right here. This is where he says produced by Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben makes rice now.
No, he harvests that from fields.
Uncle Ben ain't never been out in no field. He's called Uncle. He ain't no slave. He's an Uncle Tom. But he's called Uncle Ben. He ain't never been out in no field. He's a house Negro.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have to let the IRS know that you're tax exempt. You have to let them know that your assets and your securities are tax exempt. You want to be so-called free from the system? Then start letting them know. Now, what we have done is we've created the contract that has the arbitration clause. If they don't want to listen to you, you know how they send you those frivolous letters? Tell you this is frivolous? Then you just simply ask the right proof of claim questions and now go to arbitration with the IRS. You ain't got to deal with these fools no more. Ladies and gentlemen, do you not know that the arbitration is the thing to stop them from treating you like trash? No, you don't know because you're not getting it. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you, Bradley Christopher Stark figured out something that he didn't even realize the worldwide impact of what he figured out. But he figured it out enough to cover all of the bases. Arbitration is your best tool. Now, I'm told that SAA is still looking for arbitrators. Okay? Now, some of you guys have been watching some of my videos, and you've been watching them months later, and they'll talk about SATCOMs looking for this and that, and you'll watch that video, and then you'll contact SATCOM talking about, hey, I hear y'all looking for this. No, you didn't hear, you heard wrong. Okay, because you got to look at the date. That's why we put the date at the end of each of the videos, so you can see what date. Look at YouTube, see what date the video is made. Well, y'all still? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you go through this video, you'll see that you're provided a ton of information. Remember, as I told everybody, I should not be talking. The operation should have left me in a vegetable state without the ability to talk. It should have left me without any memory. Now, here's the thing. I tell this to people all the time, but they don't get it. So let me see if I can explain it one last time. I don't remember what I did yesterday. I knew I went to the post office. Okay, that much I did know. And I worked on a document, the bill that I told you guys about. That took hours. That's what I did yesterday. But as you see, I have to think about it. And it's real serious thought. I can't just recall, because I can't tell you what I did the day before. I can't tell you what I did Saturday. I can't tell you what I did last Friday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, or anything. Monday, I was at the court the previous week. But I can't tell you that. I can only tell you because I remember that day. It's the 26th. So I remember that's the day they wanted to play games. But short-term, long-term memory affected. I have to sit and focus to remember. But tell me something audibly, I'll repeat that back to you with no problem. But again, I shouldn't be here. And especially being here and being able to know what I know and recall, that's Jehovah, that ain't me. I keep saying I'm a genius. No, Jehovah gets the credit for that. He's the one who allows me to be a genius, because I am a genius. Because nobody else is talking about the things I'm talking about. Go and take a look. Go and take a look. Nobody's talking about arbitration. Nobody is talking about the United States government being on a military rule. And then proving these things, Lord have mercy. Nobody is offering these. We gave you guys the contracts for free. We gave you all the information free. We didn't charge you for it. That's how life is supposed to be. Like we said, it's not going to take a lot. Some of you guys have already got your little groups. I said little groups. Look, ladies and gentlemen, let me put it to you simple. If you want to start an arbitration association, you can start an arbitration association. You're going to have to start small. There's a lot to go to it. But the research we put all on our site. All of the research is on our site. That's there for you. It's not there for us. We even put a whole section that talks about the arbitration and the study and education of arbitration. And everything you need to know about arbitration is in that folder. All you need to do is go over the documents. It's a lot of documents, but you just need to go over the documents so you get that general understanding. And then go over the Federal Arbitration Act. It's Title IX, Section 1 through 16. It's only 16 sections of the Arbitration Act, and what you need to focus on is Section 1 through 9. Because that applies to arbitration. Everything else, Section 10 through 16, applies to the courts and what their procedures are. Because they must follow the act as written. The Supreme Court has just announced that. They must follow the act as written. They cannot ad-lib. They cannot add their own thoughts. Oops. They just opened the door for us, people. All right. When I started this video, I had taken another sleeping pill because I want to be relaxed this morning, but I also wanted to go back to sleep. I didn't want to be up from 3 o'clock because yesterday I was up from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the evening. Okay? And I had to take sleeping pills because if I didn't take sleeping pills, I would have been up to 11. Okay, so that would give me about 21 hours I would have been up if I had not taken the sleeping pills. Got a lot of work to do. I've got work to do. I've got work to do. And I want to know. Okay, I got a lot of work to do. And so I need to be able to focus doing that work. I can't focus if I'm exhausted, because it doesn't allow the brain to work at its full capacity. I'm going to do this till the wheels fall off, ladies and gentlemen. I'll continue to help my neighbor until the wheels fall off. But I put them on with some very long nails, and I bent the nail at the end so them wheels ain't ever going to fall off. That's a stagecoach. No, that's not a stagecoach. Those are my wheels. They're called Mac wheels. Mac wheels? Mac wheels? Oh, I like Mac wheel. I mean, that's probably some of the best fish. I didn't say mackerel. I said Mac wheels. That's what I said. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, bringing this information to a close, I hope the information that's been provided today and me having we're going to have one of those somber moment communications with all of you, I hope it proves very, 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 very beneficial and interesting. And with that being said, please have a good day. 1 minute, 29 seconds. Have a good life. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good night. Have a good everything. Have a goodbye.